That's birds, so if you hear that, sorry, I live in Hawaii. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Isla. I figured since October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I would do a sit-down video and just talk about my own personal experience having BRCA or BRCA2 gene fault. So before we get started, if you don't mind giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe and give it a comment, yeah, get into the video. So to get started, I figured I would talk about my own personal journey. This isn't everyone's opinion. This isn't how everyone feels. This is just my own personal experience. I also want to say I do have the BRCA2 gene fault. That does not mean I have breast cancer. That doesn't mean I have ovarian cancer. That doesn't mean I have any type of cancer. A gene fault just means there's like a mutation in that gene, so it's the BRCA2. There's two types of BRCA. There's 1 and 2. Both are more susceptible to breast cancer and ovarian cancer. I have type 2, which is the better of the two. So my journey started a long time ago, not even when I found out about the gene fault. My mom passed away of breast cancer when I was 3, about to turn 4. She had metastatic breast cancer, which just means that she had breast cancer which spread throughout her body to other places, which eventually what caused her to pass away. She was fairly young. She was like 43, 44, and she actually didn't get tested for the gene fault, but just with her family history and everyone that has it, the chances that she did have it are really high. So when I turned, I think it was 20, my mom's family, which are in Scotland, they reached out to me to let me know that it was a possibility that I did carry the BRCA2 gene fault. And the gene fault is like really big, so they had like the specific mutation which our family carried. So I was able to get tested specifically for that gene fault. And so I was in the military at the time. I was 20. That was in 2013 is when I found out. So I got tested, and the geneticist that I had was a very nice guy. I'm just not a very emotional type of person. I like to just think about, like, I get the information and then process it, and then okay, what's the next step? So the day I went in to find out the results, I was sitting there, and he came in and he's like with his clipboard, and he looked at me and he's just like, so, and I was like, okay, well, they're positive, and what's the next step that we can do? Like, what are my options? So it didn't mean that I have any type of cancer. I didn't find out that I had cancer or anything like that. I just found out that I carry the gene fault, so my chances of having cancer are a lot higher. Before I wanted to do this video, I looked up just like some statistics. The general population has a 12% chance of getting breast cancer, or they usually like to say 1 out of 8 women would be diagnosed with breast cancer. If you have a family history, your chances are a lot, well, they're higher. They're like 20 to 30, I want to say. And then if you have a gene mutation, it goes up to like 60 to 80%. So he pretty much told me that first step would be to get a double mastectomy, or I could get 2 to 4 tests a year, MRIs and mammograms, to just be on the way, like a watch, to see if I would get cancer. He did tell me that my chances were just higher, so he said by the age of 40 I would have a 80% chance of already having breast cancer. So to me, it wasn't a hard decision to make. A lot of people always ask me like, oh my god, that must have been so hard, but honestly it wasn't. It was either I have a double mastectomy and remove the breast tissue, or get breast cancer. Like those, I felt like those were my 2 options, and so I decided to get referred to a general surgeon to have a consult to get the double mastectomy. For those of you who don't know what a double mastectomy is, it's usually when women already have breast cancer, and so when you have breast cancer you can either have a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. So lumpectomy is they just take out the tumor itself, but a mastectomy is usually when it's a little bit more aggressive, and the better chance is to just remove all the breast tissue in that breast or both breasts. So this is a bad way to think of it, but when I thought of it, it was almost like a ice cream scooper, just kind of like removing the breast tissue, and then usually you would get implants. So I got implants put in, but it wasn't just like, okay, one surgery. I had 4 surgeries over a period of 3 or 4 years. It was a very long process. So I had a plastic surgeon and a general surgeon. The first surgery I had was in 2014, so I was diagnosed in 2013 with the gene fault, and then in 2014 I had my first surgery. This one was kind of more just for the look of it, I guess. So my plastic surgeon said it would probably be best if I got a reduction and made them as even as possible, because my general surgeon would just go in there and try to take out as much breast tissue as possible, as much as they thought necessary. So if it was already even to begin with, then it would hopefully be even at the end. So in 2014 my first surgery was a reduction, and they took off my nipples. Such a weird thing to say on camera, but yes, they took off my nipples because I decided I wasn't going to keep them at all. My plastic surgeon asked if I wanted to keep them, but that would still could possibly cause breast cancer down the line. So I figured, why go through all this process to potentially still have that problem? That's like kind of defeating the whole purpose, I felt like. So I just said remove them. The only bad thing about that first surgery is, so usually mastectomy scars are straight across the breast, but reduction scars are from one side, they go underneath and make them smaller. Usually as reduction is to make your breast smaller, so they went underneath. So I have scars that are started in the middle and go out and then straight up from the nipples to remove the nipples. So that was the first surgery, and thankfully Oni, my husband, was with me for every step of the way. He took care of me after every surgery. He helped me through every breakdown I had. After every surgery I had a mental breakdown. So yeah, so that was in 2014. I spent the night in the hospital. That was the first surgery, and honestly it wasn't even that bad of like a recovery or anything. I think I had like 3 weeks off of work or something, and you just can't lift more than 10 pounds. You just kind of have to like take it easy, which was fine. So after your first surgery you kind of have to wait to let your body recover. So my next surgery wasn't until 2015, which was a day before my 21st birthday, and that was the surgery. I had the double mastectomy, so they removed both breast tissue, like both breasts. And because I didn't have breast cancer, I don't have breast cancer, they were able to do the mastectomy and put implants in the same surgery, so I never didn't have breasts. However, I did go into the surgery knowing that that was a potential to not have the implants put in, because my surgeon told me that if they take out too much breast tissue, they have to test the skin to see if the circulation is gonna still be okay without the breast tissue. So the implant could be like too close, pushing on the skin, because it's just skin gonna be over the implant. So she said if the circulation's not good, then they might have to put spacers in, which is kind of like inflatable balloons. They put it in, and then over time they can stretch the tissue and then eventually put implants in. And that was my biggest concern, is because I was so scared to like see myself without breasts. That was gonna probably be the biggest thing. So thankfully that didn't happen. I was able to get implants that same surgery. For this one, the recovery still wasn't that bad. I think because I already had a surgery before that, my body was a little bit more prepared. So the only thing bad about this surgery is that it was a bigger surgery to get. So I stayed in the hospital for, I want to say 3 or 4 nights. I was on bed rest for like 2 days, so I couldn't even get out of bed. And then I got a fever and my white blood cell count went up, so they thought I could possibly have an infection, so then I had to stay in the hospital longer. The worst thing about this surgery was I had drains put in, so the drains were to take out all the excess fluid that your body tries to produce to fight off infection, and it just went through a traumatic thing, so it starts to produce fluid. So I had 2 drains. I had 2 here and 2 here, and one drain went on the top of the breast and then one went underneath. And that was like the hardest part, because you had these like drains attached to you, and then they had these little like suction ball things that collected all the fluid. So I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want people to see that. So Oni became very, very good at doing my bandages. Because for like months, I want to say, we had to do like the bandages, and you had to put ointment, and you had to put these like strips on top of it so they didn't get dry. You had to make sure the stitchings was okay. And then on top of that, for this surgery, they added the drains. So then every couple hours we had to like dump that fluid into a measuring cup to measure the fluid, to make sure that I was lessening the fluid outtake. And then showering was just a process, because we had to take off all the bandages. I had 4 drains to hold, so when we showered, Oni would have to either hold the drains and I could wash my body, or I would hold the drains and Oni could wash my body. Like, they were just, and then they hurt because they're like stitched into your side so they don't move. So like that was the worst part, I want to say, about that surgery in general. That one was a little bit harder because it looked the worst. Like, that was the worst I thought my breast looked. So imagine if you put implants on a wall. That's what it looked like, because they took off all the breast tissue. So it was like chest, boobs. There was no like gradual like slope into it. There wasn't anything. It was just like put on me. So that was hard. And the drains, it was like suctioning them, because like it was like taking out all the fluid. Also, I remember the day I seen my breast, I immediately started crying because they were so ugly. They were so bruised. They just looked awful. That was probably, no. I mean, they looked the worst, but that was not the worst surgery. And surprisingly, that was the most like invasive surgery. Like, that was like the one that was supposed to be like the big thing, the double mastectomy. And so, I don't know, it was bad, but I think that it could have been worse, I guess. I don't know. My next surgery was in 2016, the beginning of 2016, and my surgeon told me what we could do to make my breast look more realistic is to do fat grafting. Like, the thought of fat grafting sounds so much better than it is. I think that it was worth it, but that was the worst part of this whole process, I would like to say. If you don't know what fat grafting is when they take fat from another part of your body and they put it where they need it. So in my breast, like the top part of my breast, because I had like huge indentions like in my chest, so not only did my boobs look like they were on a wall, the wall was like caved in some places. So they said, yeah, we'll take some fat from your midsection and put it into your breast. So I was like, you're gonna take my own fat and put it into my boobs to make my boobs look better? How does that not sound bad? But I don't know if this is a different type of lipo than most people get, but where they took the fat from was so bruised. First of all, was so bruised, and on top of that, so this one, I don't remember if it was this one or my 4th surgery when they made all the incisions, but from fat grafting I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 little, they're like little, they're like this big, but I have 10 little incisions on the front and the back of my body. And the way my plastic surgeon explained it to me is they have this like suction cannula, so it's like this long and it's like a suction tube. And from those little incision sites, they're able to suction out that whole area. So the nerve damage that causes is tremendous. Like, I couldn't put lotion on my body. I couldn't let the shower like water touch my skin because it just was so excruciating. So I think the third one, they didn't take out a lot of fat. It was just kind of like to see if my body could handle it, and then to see if like that's what the route they wanted to go, because there was other ways they could get my breasts to look more realistic. This was just probably the easiest or like best way. So at the end of 2016, I had my last and final surgery. So for this surgery was another round of fat grafting, because my breasts were still pretty ugly ugly looking. I just didn't like the way they looked. They were like still that implants on a wall type of look. So my plastic surgeon said that they could do more fat grafting and then nipple reconstruction. So I didn't even know if I wanted nipples at the end of it, because at that point I didn't have nipples for like 3 years. She convinced me to, because she said like later on in life I might want them to make them more realistic, to make them feel more normal. So I decided to go through with it, and the best way to explain nipple reconstruction, because the best way to put it, I like to, this is the way my plastic surgeon showed me. Where your nipples are supposed to be, they cut the tissue into like this, and then with your own tissue, like where they cut, they're able to fold it up to like make a little nipple. I think they look pretty realistic for being like cut and made into nipples. So I'm assuming, I can't really remember, but I'm assuming that first fat grafting surgery wasn't that bad, because I don't think if it was like this last one I would have decided to do it again. So for the surgery they did the fat grafting and then the nipple reconstruction, and all I remember is waking up crying with an oxygen on my face, and because it was so sore, I was just like crying my eyes out. And so they gave me pain meds, and so when they give you pain meds they have to monitor you for so much time. So then I woke up again crying because I was in so much pain, so they gave me pain meds again. So I was in PACU for like 6 extra hours that I shouldn't have been in there. And then I finally went to my room, and they had like a binder. It was like a Velcro waist trainer type things, because after you get lipo you need like really constricted things, so then it just stays flat. And I was in my bed in my room in the hospital, and the nurse came in and was like, "Hey honey, we have to look at your incision sites to make sure they're not bleeding and everything." And I just remember her taking the Velcro off, and just, I don't know if it was all the blood or what, like rushed into my abdomen, and I just started crying. And I was like, it hurts so bad, like I can't do that, like you need to put it back on. And so she put it back on. I eventually went home, but the bruising for that one was like, they were so bad. They were everywhere on my body, and I don't think that my skin or my body like actually recovered for at least a year after. Like I said, the nerve connection, it takes so long for it to like form back together, and then even the healing process of that is pretty bad. So that was my last surgery, and I remember almost after every surgery, like for months after my surgery, if we went anywhere and Oni wore jeans, I would be like, "Why are you dressing up?" Like start crying, and because I would be in like sweats. But everything has healed fine. I eventually got my areolas tattooed on to make it look more realistic. I don't think it really does much of a difference, honestly. I have accepted, like they look fine. If I didn't tell you I had those surgeries, you wouldn't be able to tell. To me, it's worth it, because I mean, this eliminates your chances of breast cancer from like to like 90 to 95%. This whole process pretty much was a preventative thing. My mom passed away at a young age of breast cancer. I was young and grew up without a mother, so to me just being able to know that that is one less thing I have to worry about was kind of a no-brainer. The only thing that it's really like hurt me with is I could pass this on to my kids when if we do have kids, which sounds selfish to me, because I want kids. So I'm like, oh well, like at least we would know what to look for, but there's always a 50-50 chance. That's something I have to deal with. BRCA also not only affects breast cancer, it affects ovarian cancer. So I was told that by the age of 40 I should have my ovaries removed, and I'll probably have like everything removed at that time, because the same thing, why just get one thing removed when there's that potential case of something else happening in that same area. The reason I can wait until I'm 40 is because breast cancer usually occurs at a younger age. So that was like the big thing they said I should worry about first. This is something I wanted to talk about because I feel like most people don't know about one, breast cancer, and then on top of that they don't know about gene mutations, especially like BRCA. The easiest thing you can do is self-exams. Touch your breasts, touch your boobs, have your partner touch your boobs. And while you're in the shower, just while you're washing your body, like touch your boobs, feel for lumps. And they say you don't even have to do it all the time. You can do it once a month. And if you feel a lump, talk to your doctor, get an ultrasound, get a mammogram, get it checked. Another big thing, do your research. I scan so many women that think mammograms give them breast cancer. That is not a thing. The radiation is there, yes, but you get so much more radiation in your everyday life from just normal things. The benefit outweighs the risk when it comes to mammograms. Mammograms can detect breast cancer before it is even a lesion, before it's a mass. They can detect it at like the earliest stages. If you take anything away from this video, is to touch your boobs and really take care of your body. I hated the breast cancer awareness slogan where it was save the tatas or something like that, because fuck the tatas, fucking save your life. I don't know, I felt like this was a good time to talk about it because my surgeries are done. You do have to change your implants every 10 years, so I mean, I'll do that when it's time. So that was my experience. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Again, this isn't to get sympathy, it's just to bring awareness. I love to just help other people educate themselves on, you know, these topics. If you have any questions or comments or want to add anything or need someone to talk to, please leave a comment below. Please reach out to me. Please, in your own way, bring awareness to breast cancer, not just in October, just in your life. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. See you on the next video. Sorry, my husband texted me. Ooh, do we like these or we don't? I don't know how I feel, but Mikey from Glam & Gore did it, so I had to do it. Really appreciate it. Thank you.